Ladies and gentlemen, it was bound to happen at some point, and we're very, very pleased to welcome you to Canadian Challenger League for Season 1 as a part of the North American League. I am Caliber Jacob Anderson, and I'm joined by the wonderful, the incomparable Mr. Henry Redcube Danish. My dude, it took all this time, but we're finally here being able to cast Challenger League again. It's good to see you, buddy.
It feels good. It feels really, really good. There's a little bit of hiccups here and there. We had kind of hopes, some doubts, some dreams. It just all developed right before our eyes. And finally, we are here. And I just want to get right into it, Jacob. I really do.
I desperately do as well. For those of you who are brand new to watching anything that happens in Challenger League, you might be a little confused about why you're seeing additional games being played. There's one that's always happening on the main stream every Friday night on twitch.tv/Rainbow6, but now we are working together with Faceit and Ubisoft to bring you additional matches for both the Canadian Challenger League, both of those games, and the other United States Challenger League game as well. But for right now, for the two of us, we're going to be talking about one game in particular, and that is Oceanus Gaming against Windstorm.
Well, Jacob, in terms of structure, we are fighting a foreign beast today because, well, we're in Canada. We haven't been in Canada before. This is the Canadian Challenger League division. And while Rainbow Six Esports has been around in North America for quite some time, it's been kind of dominated by those down south in the United States. But here we have new faces, new competition, new teams, but the same old game, and it's going to be absolutely insane. But with that game, we have to see where they're playing. Let's see those map bans.
We do have a little bit of map history from these guys from before. They were very kind enough to offer us some of the statistics for the maps that they played previously. But for tonight, we will be starting off with Consulate, heading to Oregon, and then if we need it at the end of the night, we will head to Villa. So for the course of Challenger League, we have not been able to work within a best-of-3 format, and if we did, it was a very long time ago. So it's nice to be able to bring a best-of-3 into CL for the very first time. So we actually will end up needing that third map in the event that we are tied 1-1 midway through. But at least for me, it's really, really good that we'll be able to see Oregon through the rotation and in its brand new state and see how these guys can do on it.
The only time I have casted Oregon was in a charity matchup. And, well, if you go to a charity matchup to do VOD reviews and figure out strats, you are in the severely wrong place. Because we saw Tachanka play Spawn Peaks out of nowhere. It was just an absolute mess. So this is the first time in my casting career where I am seeing Oregon played at a high competitive level. Obviously, I've been watching Pro League and watching other CL VODs, and there's definitely a meta being developed on that map as of yet. But there's still a lot that needs to be uncovered, and I think today is a great step in that direction, and we can uncover a couple more things.
If we want to start out with the first map that we'll see first, we do begin with Consulate, and this is one that these two teams, during the course of this CL season, already have a previous history on. The two of these teams did play back when Windstorm was known as Les Cornets earlier in the season, and the three maps that they did play were actually these exact same three that we see right here with just a little bit of a switch. We did start on Consulate in that series, and it was an 8-7 overtime victory for Les Cornets that are now known as Windstorm. So we will head there first, but we already know that was an absolute barn burner that we just didn't have the privilege of watching. So now we have the opportunity to dive into it, see how these guys attack it for the second time in a row, and see if whether or not that pick from Windstorm is going to work out in the end for them, or if this is just kind of something that they already know that they beat Oceanus on previously, and whether or not that's all they need to worry about.
These map ban picks are extremely interesting. And the reason why is because these are identical to the series prior. You said this, but the only difference being Villa is now a decider map, and this kind of throws a wrench into the plans for both teams, in my opinion, because you're going onto the exact same maps, my apologies. Who's to say that the same thing doesn't happen? Windstorm have to bring something new to the table here. They don't want to get a loss on their record, another 2-1, because that just doesn't make sense. You don't go into a game wanting to lose. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly what Windstorm bring to the table. What are they going to do differently that allows them to win this matchup? And what is Oceanus going to bring differently that basically surprises Windstorm? Because if Oceanus brings the exact same setups, the exact same operators, the exact same holds, the exact same pushes, who's to say Windstorm hasn't prepped for that already and we're just going to see an absolute blowout? It should be interesting to see. You don't typically see map bans go this way like they have in terms of being identical to the last time these two teams played. But, I mean, we just get to, I guess, see something we never saw before and just hit the repeat button on this match.
In some cases, yeah, but now we're playing for a little bit of a different state. The last time these two teams played, it was in the very, very first best of 3 that they played in Group A of Canadian Challenger League. Now, the way the Group A has worked out has been rather interesting There's only been one match so far, one best of 3 that has gone to the decider game, and it was the previous series between Windstorm and Oceanus. That was a 2-1 in favor of Oceanus. So these guys already have a lot of experience. There's plenty of hopefully footage that they can fall back on for themselves in order to go and prepare for this other game. But the stakes themselves are also different because they're fighting for the 3rd and 4th place game as opposed to trying to move anywhere up or down in the bracket. If you don't win 2 straight in the context of Canadian Challenger League, and I believe this is the same for US Challenger League as well, you do not have the ability to play for that 1st or 2nd spot. You're going into a 3rd and 4th place tiebreaker game, and that is what these two guys are fighting for if they win. However, if they lose, then they're going to be playing within the 7th or 8th place match, and they're going to be trying to avoid any possibility of mid-season relegation because in the context of Challenger League, that is absolutely still a possibility for them.
Coming into this game, I think a lot is still very much unknown with the teams, the players, the mindsets of the players, the maps that they're comfortable on. Obviously, we're getting a little bit more uncovered as we continue to cast them, as we continue to watch them. But before today's matchup, I asked a couple questions to both of these teams. And one of the highlights, I think, of my little interview with these two teams, I had a question that said, what is one word that describes your team? Oceanus, they gave us determined, which is a very nice word to describe your team. But if you go over to Windstorm, I asked them, give us one word. They gave me 2, and they said washed rank stars. So you can see
Wait, that's 3. That's 3 words.
Washed rank star. Okay, yeah, technically 3. Yeah. So they gave me 3 words. Not only did they not listen to the question, but the answer was even better. But I mean, I think that just shows the mindset both of these teams are coming into this game and how different they are. Oceanus is ready to put on a show. They're determined, they're focused, and they're here to play. Whereas Windstorm, they know they have the gun skill. They know that they are rank stars, and they might just start peaking absolutely everything.
Hopefully we can give you guys a good introduction to what these two teams have in store. We're just waiting on everything to get situated with the lobby, and then we will jump straight into the match. But we also know that we sit at a very interesting point in the context of Challenger League because you guys haven't seen these teams play before, and none of the qualifiers, none of the previous CL games were something that you had the access to watch. So hopefully we're able to give you a good introduction about what Canadian Challenger League looks like, and hopefully maybe even help maybe legitimize some of these players or some of these teams in your eyes if you are a fan of them but haven't been able to see them play previously. So we're about to jump into things. Map number 1 is Consulate. We will head to Oregon in the event that we need it. We're just about ready to get started here. Oh boy, Henry, it feels so good to be back, man.
The storylines, they start here. The first ban phase of Canadian Challenger League that is being recorded. Obviously, they played a couple games prior, but again, this is when we start to see these players live. What do they have in their back pocket that they haven't shown us before? In terms of bans, though, they're probably going to be fairly typical. Thatcher Maverick off the board, and I'm going to make a guess here, and if I'm a betting man, I hope I make this bet properly, but I'm going to go with Echo Reminder is already perma-banned because he has an issue going on, so he can't play with Echo. So I'm guessing it's going to be a Maestro and Valkyrie getting banned here on defense. And then this should be a Maverick, right?
This one is either a Maverick. We obviously don't have to worry about Ace in play, at least for the next couple of months. So if it's not a hard breacher ban, I will be somewhat surprised. And okay, hold on. That's Consulate. That makes perfect sense.
I was going to say that makes sense for Consulate.
I wouldn't have done this in any other context, but yes.
Yes, Blackbeard is scary on Consulate for sure. There's a lot of windows you can play, especially on Garage, and there you go, a nice target ban for Oceanus there, and they know it. They know it. Everyone's mad in chat, and it's going to be a Valk ban. I'm pretty sure this should be followed up by a Mira or a Maestro, maybe a Kaid, but it's just overall this matchup is all about learning, I think, for both the teams and the casters, because we just haven't seen anything from these teams before. I don't know how many times I can reiterate that fact. Wow. Okay, and talk about learning.
The Pulse, I think, is perfect for here because you can play him, especially downstairs within this context of server, and use that Pulse scanner to find anything in Visa or just gather any additional hidden intel that you can't really counter unless you have an IQ. But the thing with having the Echo permaband is that you now open up one defensive slot that can be used for anything else on the defending roster, and you're not always having to ban out Echo every time, because that's just what we've seen from the way the competitive Siege has played, especially over these past couple of months. So that's not really a surprise to me, but they are heading down to Cafeteria and Garage first, our Windstorm, so we'll have to see if that Pulse ban shakes up their strategy too much or if they're able to move around it and excel as a result.
The thing that's very scary here is with that Pulse ban, with that Valk ban, you know who is on the board? Jacob, Kaid, Mira, and Maestro.
Oh,
that is scary to play against. If you have a Mira in basement, it's very hard to counter. If you have a Kaid in basement, that's very hard to counter, especially if you have a Bandit backing him up. And then you also have a Maestro. He has 81 bullets that just ring through your ears. And I mean, that's just deadly.
Heading downstairs to start off on Consulate is obviously not the biggest surprise in the world, though this does have the unfortunate reality of containing perhaps one of the biggest death traps or hardest retakes in Siege, and that's if Windstorm isn't able to keep that garage door completely shut, then there's a very, very small chance that if they can't stop the defuse, they might not be able to get the counter defuse off in the first place. And that's mostly because if you're Oceanus, if you get the diffuser down after getting the garage wall open, then you can scamper outside and try to take up any defensive positions of the diffuser just sitting outside on the parking lot, and there might not be anything that you can really do to stop the counter defuse from being successful. Windstorm will have to have some weird counter in their back pocket to make sure that that doesn't happen, but 3 of them are going to spawn on the northwest side of the map, and we will begin our attack. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Canadian Challenger League.
Yeah, this is the very first attack for Canadian Challenger League that we are going to be seeing. And you're going to be seeing a Yana and a Zofia on the board. Yana and Zofia have a really good duo capability. You can stun somebody out, get a refrag in there, especially with the use of her drone. It's just something that you have to keep an eye on. I think that operator of Yana is just going to be used as an extra drone. I'm actually already, unfortunately, having some technical difficulties with my clean feed here, so I'm tossing it right back over to you, Jacob.
I have a little bit of a better picture, but we should be able to get this ironed out as we progress through the rest of the evening. Don't worry about that. About a minute left, and it's all an intel game. The Yana being brought does mean that you can face check a little bit more and provide more intel, but first pick already, that is Phoenix taking down Twist, and that is a smoke, not the operator you want to lose when you know it's going to come down to an area denial game, and that's already 1 pick gone with just a minute in the round surpassed. Phoenix will take up position outside. No, and he'll instead find a way to scamper back. He still has diffuser control, but it does seem like the push from Oceanus still wants to take place on garage wall because that's the side that the diffuser itself is on. Sophia will work down spiral stairs herself, and more drones will come out from Oceanus as they attempt to look for additional intel before making their way in. The push seems to be clear out the rest of the top floor, and it almost looks like everyone from Windstorm is still situated downstairs, and not many people are moving off-site, so this is almost free real estate for Oceanus to get as much space as they need to go for additional picks.
A lot of map control has been granted to this attacking team fairly early on. Half the round is gone, and there's going to be another pick, though. So it's going to be the Maestro getting the kill, and that's going to make it 2 on to the attacker. Say goodbye to the Buck, say goodbye to the Capitao. And that's soft destruction and Capitao bolts off the board. Huge picks for the Maestro.
Moving back through, Habana does already have a hole opened up, and Kush will grab another one. That's Darken taken down. Already Kush with 3 kills on the round. He's trying to make a name for himself. 48 seconds left. Another Habana pellet will come through, and now Windstorm is finding themselves in a more advantageous position with 3 members of OCG on the back foot, and now it's only Phoenix and Japanadian who will be the 2 that will try to move into the bomb site if possible. Jap will take place on the top of yellow stairs. If he can find a frag, he will, but he needs to bait more of this utility out from Windstorm before he makes a push in. He'll use his drone inside. He does know where the Cade is positioned on the pipes, but Phoenix will try to go for additional frags himself. There's just not enough time for Oceanus to get anything moving here because Windstorm is pretty firmly locked in. Phoenix will nab 1. That's FICO gone, so the intel from the Cade on pipes is proven to be successful, and that's a plant going down. Is anyone from Windstorm in a position to stop this? It's a Maestro dabbling away at the feet, but Phoenix isn't able to get it down. Actually, no, he is. Mira will move up to the deployable shield and try to get more intel and try to get more pressure. That's 2 people coming from the hallway and 1 through the rotate hole. Windstorm will need to lock this in. Jap will find 1 on Devitrius. It turns into a 1 versus 2 as Jap is on 1 HP and Phoenix has been down to outside. Jap will grab 1. He only needs to find 1 more. Joe's on very, very low HP with 20 seconds remaining. He only has to deny a little bit more time. This clutch will be huge for Jap if he's able to secure this. Phoenix will be down finally inside, and that is the counter defuse attempt coming from Joe. Jap needs to move in quickly before the goes for the defuse, and Japanadian will clean up Mira. A clutch to come on round 1, and Oceanus making a statement as we begin Consulate with a firm 1-0 lead for Oceanus Gaming.
There was so many opportunities for both teams to start running away with that round. Mistake after mistake, capitalization after capitalization, and while we see it's Oceanus that comes out on top. We saw that the smoke went down early that wasn't able to deny that plant, and I think that's what gifted that round back to Oceanus. Maestro was able to put a couple on his name, and he was able to take down the Capital and the Zofia, but it just wasn't enough because that plant got put down. Reminder, Jacob said this right at the beginning of that round. Retaking that site is almost impossible. Even with the Habana pellets being slightly to the left of where the diffuser was planted, it was still a fairly simple retake or post-plant hold from Jap, and well, he did it perfectly. 1v1, he wins it out, and just like that, it's 1-0 in favor of Oceanus.
Windstorm not opting to go for a different bomb site. Instead, they will stick to what they think they can make corrections on. And to be fair, if you end around in a 1-versus-1 clutch and you're just not able to win your final gunfight, then maybe you are super confident in how your last attempt on this bomb site was situated. And to Windstorm's credit, they were up 4-2 at one point in that last round. They can definitely make a couple of minor corrections and possibly come out on this round on top. And Oceanus, I think, should be expecting that they'll go right back to the same bomb site, because there are plenty of other sites on this map that definitely can be more difficult to defend, just solely defending on this defender setup. But again, not having the pulse is going to make intel acquisition in Visa a little bit harder, because you won't have somebody who can gain additional intel just sitting back in server. Everyone else will probably stick on the garage wall itself, and perhaps coming from yellow stairs, everything from the west side of the map. And again, this is where OCG are starting from themselves, is on the west side spawn.
Yeah, so unfortunate there, as I think we have a disconnect from Phoenix. I think that was a little bit too far into the round, so he won't be able to hop into the game, and that's going to hurt. And something that's also going to hurt is the Jaeger taking down the Zofia. So make that a 3v5 almost immediately here for the attackers.
3 versus 4, Jap will try to find some method of equalizing as Vitreous has been taken down, but Phoenix may be able to reconnect to the lobby here, and it does seem as though he has. So we may not need a rehost, but we will let you know in the event that one does become necessary. Exxon will try to use that sledge to clear out any more roamers on the top floor, and he just misses Kush on the Maestro on the staircase, and he won't be able to clean the kill up. So instead, he'll begin to rotate back down Spiral, as I think he's aware that there's no one sitting on the top floor. Windstorm has not delegated any of their defending operators to the second floor in favor of putting anyone on the first floor, and in fact they might have just stuck all of their defenders back down on site after they lose one of their roamers, and that's almost exactly what we saw, because the Jaeger's been killed. Just move all of your defending operators, all your remaining ops, back downstairs to try to cover for the site, and kind of give this top floor control to Oceanus if you're confident enough in your defending strategy.
The strategy here for Windstorm is to play your life, and unfortunately the Jaeger failed at that strategy, but the rest of the defense was able to fall back and just sit onto site. Defending a site like this, you want as many bodies as possible on site, and you also want to waste time with the roam. Unfortunately here for Windstorm, I don't think they wasted enough time, but they were able to get very valuable picks. One of those picks being a connection issue, but it still counts because it is a 3v4 on the scoreboard. Now you're going to have to see the execute soon to follow here from OCG, and that's gonna be another nice shot for Kush, and he's going absolutely massive for his team with those 81 bullets and the Alda in his hand. 50 seconds left here, and something has to start to take shape for OCG.
There's already one coming down Spiral. They know if they can't clear Kush out of server, then, or sorry, out of archives, he's gonna have a much harder time. Another kill, and Jap's been taken down. This one should basically be all she wrote. Unless Kibbs is able to find something on the flank, he might be able to get one kill or two, but one's already gone back down, yellow rotate, and he won't be able to clean up. 30 seconds left to his name, and this one's basically in the bag. If he wants to go for additional picks, he can, but you can also still go for a bit of a technical timeout. No, sorry, not technical timeout, a tactical timeout. In their case, they can kind of sit back, understand exactly what went wrong, or they can just kind of let Kibbs go for additional picks as he has the time to. 10 seconds left. He does see one sitting right behind the white van. Instead, he'll opt to flame everything off, and he'll just try to see if he can't deny Windstorm the possibility of picking him off and save his KD at where it sits right now at 0 and 1. So right now, he doesn't even have a kill. His KD is sitting at a comfortable 0%.
Kush is looking very, very good today. I don't know what he's been doing or what T-Hunt training or aim practice he's been doing, but he's been hitting his shots for sure. And again, when you have 81 bullets and you can land your shots, you are going to be a menace that the attacking team does not want to deal with. I think that round is basically on the back of Kush, and the fact that they weren't able to clear him out, even with the man advantage for a decent bit of that round, well, my apologies, not the man advantage for a decent bit of that round, but a lot of map control for that round. It just shows how much of an influential player that Maestro can be. Now we're going to be moving up top to console office and media. It's going to be a completely different setup here from the defense and most likely a different push from the attack. And while if it's not a different push, there's definitely something wrong in the comms there for OCG. But 1-1 now is the scoreline. Reminder, this is Windstorm's map. So if you are a Windstorm fan, you really want them to win this one out, which they have before.
They absolutely have, but remember that was an 8-7 maximum overtime match point win. That was almost in a situation where you can chalk it up to really going either way, and at the very, very end, it was a matter of one team just being very, very successful on their last round, but overall, it did take both teams' effort to finally push it to max OT. That could be the same case here, but now as we head to the top floor, I guess the only real problem is that Windstorm probably aren't able to get a good beat on just how effective their defensive strategy was, because they didn't have to put the effort in for one of the players of Oceanus to just disconnect, and it might throw them off a little bit because they're not 100% certain if the way they defended that site was effective. If another player was able to get into the site and it wasn't starting as a 5 versus 4, the composition of the round could absolutely have changed because you don't want to count out any individual player.
And we are going to be seeing a Mozzie drone, so it's going to be a little bit of intel gifted to the defense. I think it was immediately shot, however, so it's not going to be too much intel for the defense to use, but it is a drone off the board. And well, Jacob, we know how valuable drones can be, especially at high-level play. This is going to be an east side take, a very typical east side take, especially for this site. You're not going to see many bodies from the defense invested in admin office, but the main objective here for the attackers is to get control of admin, try to push the defenders back, and clear out lawn desk as soon as possible. The longer that the defense can hold lawn desk, the easier it is for them to win and also deny the plant from going down. And well, say goodbye to your lawn desk player extremely quickly, as down goes the Mozzie, down goes the C4, and that's a lot of control granted to Oceanus.
This take has been made interesting by the fact that admin was taken by 4 different players of Oceanus, and then Japanadian, still rocking the Yana, was managing to watch Spiral Stairs basically all by himself.
Yeah.
He didn't have anyone else move that way to long desk, but did pressure the dock directly into Exot's Buck. So it means that the entire east side of the map has been firmly taken, and Windstorm did not put any utility probably on the site at all to stop them from taking it down. Well, my disc will mean every single flashbang used in those couple of seconds is 100% nullified, but we still move into a 5 versus 3 as everyone else from Windstorm beginning to turtle up closer to the objective. Oceanus has time to work with, and they do have a more firm map control than I think Windstorm was expecting from them, but you can see all 3 players from Windstorm on the backside. Japanadian still putting in the work on his end. Again, he's moved a little ways away. Jaeger will jump out looking for a pick, but he won't find anything, as now his position's firmly given away, and Japanadian will clean up with the pistol. Turns into a 5 versus 1, and it's all on Vitreous, who has to find some way to stop this diffuser, and it won't be successful. See if whether or not this last pick comes in. He's all alone by himself. He's got a bathroom, rotate the yellow stairs if he needs it, and again, this is another situation. It's almost the inverse of what we saw in the last round, and Vitreous won't be able to find any picks unless he can. He does have one more dock stim in his pocket if he wants to find some use out of it, but he will get pressured from yellow stairs. In Oceanus, a flawless round to come back after the unfortunate disconnect, proving that they definitely can operate more effectively when all 5 players are in the lobby.
Japanadian put Kush on a t-shirt there, and well, also Windstorm lost their smoke early on once again, and that led to a very decisive round from Oceanus. If I'm the smoke player in that situation, I need to stay up. We saw it was an issue in the very first round. Smoke got picked off. Well, he was the very first pick, so super early on. Here, he was the second pick, but that's still way too early for Twist. Twist definitely has to step it up in those early round situations because his utility is just far too valuable to be losing that quickly. If we see the smoke, maybe, just maybe, staying alive a bit longer, I think these rounds could be going either a lot closer or completely in favor of Windstorm. However, you can't discredit the Oceanus attack there. They got control of admin almost instantaneously. They got a pick right off the rip, and then it was a flawless round. That's as perfect as you can get.
Looks like the routine's been broken a little bit here. Windstorm, when they lost Garage for the first time, they opted to go right back to it, but now in this case, they are going to work for an offsite as opposed to sticking with console office. I think this is probably an instance where it was a complete swarm. It was a 5 versus 1 by the very end, so Windstorm will probably not want to go back to that side if they know the attack strategy from Oceanus, and if they aren't able to, fix their strategy next time they go back to it, or they could very well just avoid it altogether. All they need to do is clear this one round out, and then basement will be open to them again in the event that they want to try that as opposed to console office. It's a strategy that we'll have to see. Well, it really will depend upon how this round plays out, because then they'll know that lobby piano is a site that they can go for just as easily, but the entire attacking squad from OCG is all spawned on the south side, and they're almost all rushing the front door.
Okay. It looked like they were just going to sprint right through the front door.
Like
that was the biggest ankle breaker I've ever seen, but it looks like they're going to be taking their time just a bit here, but the push seems to be focused on this front door. You don't typically see a south side take onto this site. Most of the time, the main objective for the attackers is to get control of up top, maybe push down yellow stairs, maybe push down into kind of the spiral area or the base of spiral, and then get control that way. And I think that is what the attackers are looking to do, but maybe not as aggressively as you're used to seeing. Right now, just playing the windows, maybe waiting for some picks or playing picks, because we know how aggressive Windstorm can get, and that's a very smart play from Oceanus. If you know Windstorm, if you know how they play, and also if you just heard my interview, they said they're washed rank stars and they like to peek everything, you know that you could potentially get a couple of early picks. And talk about early picks, once again, FICO goes down, and it's going to be the Maestro off the board, and we've seen how valuable those 81 bullets are, and unfortunately, you aren't going to be using them from the grave.
Not in this case. Jap will find a clean up. Kush will grab one onto Exxon, so you're beginning to move more onto the top floor of Consulate to begin to clear the roamers out there. You do, not even roamers, you can completely situate yourself and just kind of sit right above in projector and look down by destroying the floor in the event that you think everyone's pushing from the front side. It's not even from the front. Everyone is still pushing from the south bit, and Darken will grab Joe. So a Jaeger and a Maestro. You lose a roamer, you lose a hard anchor, and you don't really know where you want to sit. The smoke is sitting off by yellow stairs, and the other two defenders on Windstorm continuing to sit up top. We need to clear those top floor roamers out, but instead Phoenix will find Twist. That's the only people on this entire floor have already been taken out of commission, and the only two defenders left, well, now only one defender left, is just sitting upstairs. Darken will grab another one, and Kush isn't able to replicate the round that he had just a couple rounds ago, where he definitely carried Windstorm to the one round win they've had so far. And Vitreous is all the way across the site, and Phoenix will get this diffuser down uncontested.
Yeah, it seems like right now it's almost as if OCG isn't even orchestrating a push. They're just playing for picks, and all of Windstorm is playing right into that style. They're peeking everything. They're getting into the lines of sight of all the Oceanus players, and all the Oceanus players are just hitting their shots. It's a 4v1 retake situation here for the Mutant. He has about 1 health. If he trips over literally anything, maybe even his shoelaces or stubs his toe, he is going to die. So you can probably chalk this one up, and it's going to be 3-1 in favor of Oceanus. And reminder, this is Windstorm's map, and it's a defender-sided Consulate. This is not the way I think Windstorm envisioned this going.
We have the last couple of seconds, and it will be the final pick for Phoenix. It's a 3 for him on the round at the very least, so good work on him. But a point that you brought up that's very, very pivotal, OCG has been positioning themselves in places that they already expect Windstorm to sit, and they've been right every time. The intel game has been so strong that all that OCG has had to do is get into position and just hold an angle, wait with their crosshairs at the right moment, maybe use a little bit of their utility to pressure somebody out of a corner that you can't get shot from if you're not totally certain someone's sitting there. But it's proven very, very worth it for Oceanus to just get into spots and hold angles and wait. So they're doing a really good job in their prep phases by ensuring that that behavior continues, because we've already seen 2 rounds in a row that have turned into a 5v1, and in this case a 4v1, because OCG did lose one on that previous round. If they can continue this through the next couple of attacking rounds, then they can set themselves up very, very nicely. If they're able to escape with a 4-2, then they could definitely be set on defense, but they're obviously gunning for that 5-1 if they're able to win these next 2 attacks.
OCG is very good at forcing Windstorm into uncomfortable positions, like you said. They're forcing Windstorm into spots where they either have to peek or they're going to get shot. And well, Windstorm, they're very good, and they're probably one of the best mechanical teams in Canadian CL, but you're not going to win every gunfight, and unfortunately, they're not even winning a majority of them. OCG is just in the better positioning. They have better intel, and intel is everything in the game of Siege. So when you're winning that battle, you're most likely going to be winning in terms of round count as well. Completely switching up the sights now is Windstorm, and in my opinion, this somewhat points to them getting a little bit nervous. They're not going back to what they're comfortable with. They need to change something up. And going to this site, although now getting a lot more common, could be just an effort for Windstorm to try and surprise OCG.
I don't even know if I would call this a bad site. I think there was definitely a point where this site was considerably less viable. Yeah, it definitely was. I think you would try to stay away from it as much as you possibly could. But OCG have already analyzed what they want. They're using their drone games effectively. They're spawning at the very least 4 of their players in one spawn point, and Buck's just going in looking for picks. The Maestro already down. Kush can't find any recourse, and there's no trade, no even HP trade on the side of Exod. He will walk in, grab the frag, and just sit back waiting for more intel. He literally
walked in, got the pick, was like, all right, I'm done here, I'm head out, and he walked right
it looks
back
like
outside.
OCG is going for another standard admin take now. It looks like they don't even care about what they get the kill, and they're like, yeah, we'll take the rest of the site normally now. I guess that was cool, but let's play it normal.
Here's the problem right now for Windstorm is they only have one. Oh, no, they do have 2 C4s. No, they still have 2. My apologies. I looked at that like 6 times and still got it wrong. They have 2 C4s on the board with the Mira and the Mute. The problem being you don't have a lot of intel to actually use those C4s. You don't have the Pulse. You don't have really any cams. You don't have a Valkyrie. And you also just lost your Maestro. So those bubbles aren't going to be able to move. And if the OCG team decides to push on the site and get that plant down, there's little to none denial if those C4s don't hit. You have to just get lucky right now if you are Windstorm. And while Oceanus, they're looking to clear out those C4s nonetheless because they have so much time, so much utility. And they're just going to pressure site. So much map control. Everything's in their favor right now.
Even having a pulse off the board, that means that they definitely don't want to risk what those nitro cells are doing. And oh man, Exile will still grab one. The diffuser can definitely still happen in the corner, but Twist will not be able to stop it. It's still a 3 versus 1. Even with a pulse off the board and all the nitro cells in the world, Oceanus' drop is executed perfectly, and they don't want to plant on that top floor. Sorry, they don't want to plant on the first floor. They wanted to go for the basement and make sure they had all of the utility cleared out. It's masterfully done from OCG, and Vitreous just saying, nah, man, there's no way I can win. Take a pause, sit behind Circle Daz, and just take a second with your team to figure out what in the world is going on right now.
Yeah, he said this one's wraps. I'm just going to save my Siege GG right now. And he's just going to be sitting in main lobby. And, well, Exod, he's putting that one in his montage for sure. But the other thing we have to talk about is the fact that the side of OCG, they dropped down into site to get picks when they could have easily planted. That just shows how confident they are in their gun skill and their ability to clear out sight, whether it be a spot where you don't necessarily need to clear out. Because reminder, they knew there were C4s on the board, so it's probably smart to not go for a plant above the C4s and instead go for those picks. But I'm just guessing that OCG didn't know that there was no intel on them and they could have gone for that plant. Either way, it's 4-1. Windstorm, they had to change something, and they got to change it quick because a 5-1 split on Consulate with these bans, that's not something you like to stare down the barrel of.
See, the thing is, Windforce have had 2 intel-heavy operators banned for them on their defensive half, which has made things exquisitely difficult for them to do anything to counter the intel that OCG has been bringing through every single round. They have an absolute stranglehold, and they are setting a net almost every time they manage to get into the building, which, to be fair, doesn't take very long to happen every round. Especially when Exile can just walk right into Visa and just get a kill on the Maestro before anyone knows what's going on.
There was 1 minute and 30 seconds left, and OCG was controlling the entire map, and then just dropped in the site. That's so much time, so much utility in their back pocket that they're just going to use whenever they feel like it.
Well, we will have one bomb site played at least 3 times, and we will head back down to Garage. It's the only site that Windstorm have managed to win on defense, but do remember that a big reason for that was because we had Phoenix with an unfortunate disconnection. He is back in the lobby now, but the last time, or the first time that this map or this specific site was played, that was Oceanus winning pretty handily off of Japanadian clutch. It's still probably the closest round that we have because it did turn into a 1v1 situation, and almost every other round has been, what, a 3v1, a 4v1, even a 5v1 at times, and it means Windstorm doesn't have an accurate counter, so they need to go back to something that at least has a modicum of success. In this case, go back to Garage and see what you can work with.
So Maestro going for a spawn peek here. Out of all the operators to go for a spawn peek, I think the last on my list would be one of either a Maestro or a Smoke.
Yeah.
He'd be near the bottom. He definitely has a nice gun and a lot of bullets to work with, but he definitely would be near the bottom. I'd rather have the Jaeger, maybe the Bandit. I must be behind. What just happened? I must be behind.
Oh no, Darkin just pulled off one of the best shots I think I've seen. Vitreous down with only one kill to his name as the Jaeger, just sitting in admin with almost nothing to do.
I just saw it. I just saw it. Oh my god. Oh my god.
That was a phenomenal shot. Sorry about the delay, but we will obviously continue on even though we have an issue or two here. Exxon has been using that buck to maximum advantage. Every single floor he's had, he just opens a hole through it and looks for a peek or tries to force somebody out of a potential rotate position. Phoenix on the Habana with Diffuser will stick outside of the garage wall, waiting for the utility to be cleared off of it by anyone in piano, and Oceanus has definitely brought a setup for it. They've got a buck and they've got a sledge, so they will have no problem in the absence of a Thatcher, because he has been banned out, of getting that electric claw off of the garage wall. And more holes will be opened up from Exod as it continues to clear out utility. Windstorm already, it's only one player down, but they see him on the back foot, but Twist will come right up yellow stairs and grab Japanadian. Already 8 kills for Jap. He's been putting in the work, but now he's been told to sit down, and Windstorm tries to find some way to claw around back.
I'm very glad that Twist got that kill there, because if he didn't, he could have easily thrown the round for his team. Reminder, that's the Smoke. I really don't like the Smoke playing that aggressively. I'd rather have the Jaeger or the Bandit rotate up, but both of which are dead, so it makes sense why I guess it was the Smoke. When the Smoke did go for the peek, I'm pretty sure the Jaeger was still up, but nonetheless, the round is still going on, and let's see what OCG decides to do in terms of adaptation, because they lost their nades and they also lost their sledge. When you look at the side of Windstorm, losing the Bandit and the Jaeger hurts a lot in terms of firepower, but they still have a lot of utility to deny the push onto site. The push onto site is going to have to come soon, because 30 seconds are on the clock and it's slowly ticking down, and well, everything has been essentially cleared. The one thing that hasn't been cleared, though, is Kush with 81 bullets, and we've seen how explosive he has been on that Maestro, and OCG, if I'm them right now, I do not want to walk into that crosshair.
Phoenix is already going for the counter defuse. Someone just walks right up yellow, and now the Smoke is trying to be the one to stop it, but Phoenix will stick it in again. We find ourselves in yet another post plant. Phoenix has been insane on getting that diffuser down, but Darkin will inevitably find the Smoke, and it comes on Kush. He did go for that spawn peek earlier. He will knock out Phoenix again. It turns into another basement 1 versus 1. Darkin on Zofia. You've already got the diffuser down. This is exactly what we mentioned before. It's such a death trap. You have no idea where the Zofia is sitting exactly, and all you have to do is wait for the sound cues. Kush can try to bait something out, but the Zofia, he's just a little bit off to his left. He's looking for anything is Kush to try to force Zofia out of position, but he doesn't have enough time. If you know where that timer is supposed to be on the diffuser, he only has a couple more seconds. Hopefully Darkin can hear the audio cue, but Kush again still will not stick it in. He really doesn't have the time. I don't know. At this point, he does not have the ability to stop this counter defusal, and he won't even allow Darkin to get the kill. Oceanus, OCG up 5-1 on Windstorm's map pick. Good grief. This has looked dominating so far.
This does not look like the 8-7 scoreline I was expecting at all. Obviously, we weren't able to watch that game between these two teams, but I was expecting it to be a little bit closer, right? I think we're both in the same boat here in terms of just a little bit shocked by this scoreline. 5-1, that's no easy task on attacking side of Consulate. And well, OCG, they made it look easy. Now they're going to, well, the defender side of Consulate, and they're in a very comfortable position to not only take a couple risks, but just shut this game out immediately. Match point is a very scary thing to see at the top of your screen, and while OCG is one round away from forcing Windstorm to see it for, well, it could be 5, 6, 4 rounds, but or it could just be one and the game just ends right there.
You want to know what the biggest flex in this situation is right now? The biggest flex of confidence for OCG, they could have gone top floor, they could have gone bottom. No, they went back to archives. We are on split for the first round of their defense. That just exudes so much confidence in the way that they're playing right now. They don't have to work with, you know, a side that they consider to be traditional. They might have even just a little bit screwed up the picks that Windstorm has for their attack, because I don't really know if you're going to need a thermite in this case unless you wanted to go directly for the garage wall, but it does mean that Windstorm have to change up the way in which they play, and it might have just meant that they spent a pick on an operator on somebody that could have been used more effectively for this site, because they don't need to worry about that attack nearly as hard.
Yeah, and I think if you look at the score line right here, in terms of kills for both of these teams, you can see a major discrepancy between the two. Oceanus, it's relatively spread out. You have Japanadian with 8 at the top, and then you have Gibbs with 3. But when you look at Windstorm, it's severely spread out. It's 0, 1, 1, 3, and then 8. It just seems like Kush is in there by himself, and the rest of Windstorm is struggling to get some footing. Obviously, though, on attack, sometimes that's where players start to flourish. We see that a lot in Pro League. There's a lot of Pro League players that they're okay on defense, and then they just go absolutely massive for their teams on attack. That could be the case for Windstorm. We know they like to peek. We know they like to play aggressively, and I think on attack, you can play a lot more aggressively. You can peek a lot more things and be comfortable with your gunfights because you have an ACOG, because you have better utility, because you have a situation where you could get intel on a defender and just get an easy pick. Wait a minute.
Yeah, no, you and I are definitely seeing the exact same thing. I'm not totally certain why.
A Zofia, and an Ash.
So dare I say the statement I made about messing up Windstorm's operator picks by going to an offsite was true. Because I don't think you would have used those exothermics on anything except for the garage wall if that's what you wanted to situate yourselves on. But no, Windstorm have opted for a top floor take, at the very least, to try to clear some people out of the floor directly above site. And if they want to go for a basement plant, that's still in the cards for them. But a minute and 30 seconds has already gone by, and Windstorm so far have taken entirely to this top floor, looking for anything that they can clear out prior to making their way back down either Visa or Spiral to go for a plant.
Yeah, that's just very interesting to see, but something that's also interesting to see is the Mira going down early to the Zofia. That's a huge pick. That's a C4 off the board, and a very valuable position player off the board as well for OCG. The problem being here for for Windstorm is, yes, they're getting picks, but the map control seems to be fairly scattered. They're all over the place. They're just running around, and they don't necessarily know what they want to do in terms of the push. It looks like they're finally going to decide to try to get this plant down, but reminder, there's still another C4 on the board and also a TK in their back pocket. And now, somehow, some way, when it looked like Windstorm were in control, besides the map control portion of it, they're now completely out of control, and it's a 3 versus 1. Plant is going to be coming down. This should be relatively easy to deny, and it most likely will be denied, and it's going to be 6-1 here for Oceanus. No, it won't be. So it's going to be a retake situation. A 3v1 on this site is fairly easy to retake, and we see why it is. As Kid gets a nice shot with the UMP, and just like that, it's match point here for Oceanus. And right now, this last round, it almost feels like Windstorm is already dead, and this could just be an exclamation point.
That round had so much madness going on in the middle of it. I think we almost neglected to mention that there was a team kill that happened at the worst possible moment for Windforce. Yeah. I saw it, and I was trying to just focus on exactly where the push is coming from.
Yeah.
But I think the whole premise of the round is Windstorm were able to take control of admin. They were moving down. They were creating holes in the floor. And then once they ascertained that they had the top floor bomb site and all of Visa cleared out, then they were able to make their way back downstairs. There wasn't nearly as much pressure put onto the basement over the course of that round, because obviously there is still one bomb down there, and if Oceanus were moving all of their defenders back down, then that's definitely what helped them win, because at the very end it turned into a 3 versus 1 due to some miscalculation on the side of Windstorm. They need a little bit more information in their back pocket before they can go for something like that. Credit to OCG for picking an offsite and winning it on the first try, but now we'll head to much more. No, it absolutely is. And that's why we're heading back down to a site that we're a little bit more familiar with, and maybe, just maybe, Windstorm will be expecting this one.
This could be arguably the most viable site on this map. Statistically, it is. It has the highest sample rate, and it also has the highest win rate for the defending team. And with that, it puts Windstorm on a very, very aggressive back foot. Not only are they already down by a number of rounds, but it's also match point where OCG is on the most viable site. As you can see, the round history here from the teams, and while Oceanus, it looked like it was going to be a close game at the beginning, but, well, they shut that up very quickly. It's 6-1, Jacob. Did you expect this to happen? And also, the follow-up question for that is, do you think a comeback is on the horizon here for Windstorm?
Well, I didn't expect it to happen because I think everyone is still a little bit curious to see how any of these teams can perform. We didn't have any footage or any of these games played out for the public to view, so it was very much a question of, well, we can look at previous scores, but that's really all the information we have. So on the back of that previous score, it was an 8-7 overtime victory for Windstorm, but now Oceanus have most assuredly said, we don't care about what your map pick is, we'll find a way to counter you on every possible angle and just create a net and constrict as much as we possibly can. I don't want to say it's too reminiscent of TSM, but TSM is another team that can definitely circle you and circle you and circle you until there's absolutely no recourse for the attacking or defending side. Though I don't necessarily know if a comeback is possible for Windstorm, the problem here is a lot of what they're doing just seems discombobulated. When you're losing 5 rounds in a row and don't really have a way to come back from that, even having won round 1 would definitely have meant that there's more confidence in their back pocket that they can work with and, you know, start to feel themselves a little bit more. But right now, Oceanus is doing such a good job of suffocating everything Windstorm has, I don't believe that a comeback can happen, and if it does, I'm more than happy to be proved wrong.
Yeah, right now, Oceanus are sharks in the water, and Windstorm are bleeding profusely. They just seem to be getting surrounded right off the rip, and there's an easy pick here, there's an easy pick there, and most of the time, those easy picks result in a major loss of utility. I think right now, this round is the longest it has been without a first pick going in favor of Oceanus.
I think you're right.
1 minute and 30 seconds in, and you still have all 5 of the players for Windstorm on the board. That's progress, and you have to start somewhere. This is a great place to start for Windstorm.
Well, Windstorm probably would have wanted this kind of clock management and successful, well, I mean, how do I put this? Keeping all your players alive.
Keeping all your players alive. I think it's the best way to put it.
This exact kind of style would have been something welcome way, way earlier in the course of this map, but at this point, there isn't even a single point of HP traded. No, I do apologize. Darken has had a little bit of his HP moved back, so technically Windstorm from an HP advantage do sit in the driver's seat, but Exod will change that quickly with 2 quick kills.
Goodness.
Already Kush and Vitreous taken off the board. Windstorm on the back foot yet again. I keep using the term, but it's because it's exactly what is happening. Oh man, Japanadian caught out underneath the white Vantage twist. We'll find one method of equalization, but still, you don't have anyone to trade back for Exxon, who's just running around top floor, looking for all of the kills he can find before finally coming back to site. 30 seconds left, and Habana will now begin to make her way through the front entrance, and droning for Windstorm, which has seemed almost non-existent throughout the course of this game, will now finally begin to attain additional intel. Phoenix, no, you can't have a kill on yourself like that, not at this crucial moment in the round. Joe will grab one, twist with another, and all of a sudden Kibbs has to go for a diffuser denial by himself. He might have a chance. There's only 10 seconds left. This has to happen quickly. 2 of these in very perfect positions, but Twist will be able to get this diffuser. Yes, he will, and he'll escape with just, no, he gets down at the very end of that, and Kibbs turns it into a 1-versus-1, unless Joe has an answer and can get the thermite back up. What is it with basements turning into 1v1 situations in this game? I don't understand what's happening. Joe is sitting way back outside, and finally, Windstorm, it turns from a 1v1 clutch into their second win on Consulate. And that's what they need if a comeback is about to occur.
Yeah, they need it right now, and they got it right now. 1 round loss and this game's over, and Windstorm is trying to prevent that for as long as possible. Reminder, it's still match point in favor of OCG, and they could just make one huge play and the game's finished. Windstorm right now, I think their main objective is to deny those huge plays from happening, and although we saw one from Exod that last round, they were able to clean it up fairly quickly. Going back downstairs to Cafeteria on Garage, and Jacob, are we going to see another 1v1?
I'm looking back at my notes. Of the so far 4 rounds that have been played on Garage, 3 of them have turned into a 1v1 clutch situation. 3 of them.
So if we're going with statistics, this is going to be another 1v1.
This will probably be another 1v1.
Let's just say it. Let's just go for it. Let's just go for it completely. It's going to be a 1v1 here. We're just going to have to see which 2 players it is and which 2 operators it is at this point. We've seen a lot of Maestro 1v1s, so if we really want to go super specific, it's going to be a Maestro versus somebody in a 1v1 on this site.
At some point, yeah. I'm a little confused about why I haven't seen Kibbs try to go for a run out of his own, because Kush was definitely was feeling very liberal with his own life at one point and said, yeah, you know what, let's give this a shot and see. But Windstorm needed that last round to try to catch their breath and build some momentum. And OCG, they know that they've got plenty of rounds that they can drop in the event that, you know, they want to try out a different strategy. They don't necessarily need to give everything away. All they have to do is set up solidly on the site and just above it. And that does seem to be, they're putting multiple reinforcements upstairs to cover the bathroom, and they'll try to keep more pressure on the piano site as well, just making sure that they can stall out upstairs for as long as possible, because in the end, all that intel and all the noise Windstorm was making above in the last round proved to be Oceanus' downfall, because they had all the intel and they weren't able to sit in, you know, super comfortable spots and just wait for people to enter their crosshairs.
Wait a minute. They put all those reinforcements and all that utility in bathroom, but they all dropped out of bathroom.
Is this the biggest bait I've ever seen?
It might just be. This could be the largest ankle breaker Kyrie Irving highlight play.
It's literally a bait chamber. I don't understand what I'm looking at.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Most of the time you have at least one, potentially two, actually a lot of times two players playing in bathroom to deny this from happening. This sledge getting so much control and just being able to open up the holes right above the defense. If you had a player in bathroom right now, what Windstorm would be doing is trying to clear that player out instead of opening up garage wall and opening up the floor above the defenders. I think this was a fairly large misplay from Oceanus, and if Windstorm doesn't capitalize on it, that's going to be tough. Oh, rotate here, but it got snuffed out by a Nomad. That hurts.
Yeah, it definitely did. Joe will begin the killing all by his lonesome, and Japanadian, who was very influential on attack, has so far fallen a little silent on defense. He hasn't. I think he might have had one kill on the Bandit in the very first round, and Exod and Vitrius will find one kill apiece, and all of a sudden OCG starting to even things back up as Darken will nab the Nomad. And can we just focus on FICO? 0 kills, 8 deaths so far.
Yeah, I think Owen's knocking on the door right now, and he's knocking aggressively.
He's got a friend calling and he's saying, "Hey, man,
yeah,
where's my donut? I want my donut back."
Yeah, you got to step it up. That's what he's saying. And it's a 3v3, so this is definitely winnable here for Windstorm. I think the problem is they're getting so much map control, but they're not taking any of it away from OCG. OCG is giving away piano, they're giving away all the soft destruction, but they're not doing, them being Windstorm, they're not doing anything with that map control that's been given, and they're also just not watching their flank. Exod, in the exact same position that he got the 2K last round, gets another 2K. Yes, he gets immediately refragged this time, and it's going to make it a 2v2, and it's going to look like a 1v1 once again on this site. But still, it seems like Windstorm are just stumbling over a lot of molehills right now.
Everything from Windstorm is situated from that piano and bathroom attack to now moving directly into yet another plant, or hopeful plant, right onto the white van. They've already amassed a lot of site control, and now Twist will go for the diffuser, but he will pull off in favor of something different. We still do have pings coming out, so intel is being dispersed, and now Twist will go right for this plant. But again, the Maestro Cam sitting in the exact same spot, and again, it will net nothing. Vitrius won't be able to, Darken won't be able to do anything on his defense, and Vitrius will be the one to nab the kill. And now Kibbs, again, another 1vx situation where his evil eyes are not able to prevent the plant from going down on white. That formula hasn't worked twice, and they'll have to go upstairs for the kill, but yet again, it doesn't net him anything. That's the exact same defensive strategy for OCG, and it fails twice in a row, and Windstorm will pick up 2 rounds.
I've never seen that before. That is shocking.
You've never seen that one? I've seen that one plenty of times.
I haven't seen that one before, but I like how we have like a list of them. That's just sad. But it's 6-3. On to match point here. Well, not on to match point. It's been match point for quite some time here for OCG, and they are going to be going back to that secondary bomb site of Archives and Tellers. They're avoiding upstairs, they're avoiding main lobby, and they're opting to go to this off-site. Do you think, Jacob, this is a question for you, do you think that they're going to this off-site to try and surprise the attack? Do they know that Windstorm doesn't have anything really prepared for this site? Or are they just that comfortable on this site and not comfortable with the others?
There was enough ridiculousness happening on the last time that they went Archives Tellers, and I think it's kind of a 50-50 shot about whether they can have the same amount of success if they go to it for a second time. It's more, I think, they don't want Windstorm to use any strategies to try to attack the top floor, because that's one that can be taken over very, very easily, and it does prove difficult to defend. I think of any of the sites on this map right now, the console office site on the second floor can definitely prove difficult. But it's one that you prepare a whole bunch of strategies for, because it seems like one of the two basic sites you would go for on Consulate in the first place. You don't very often see people going Archives Tellers on this map, so it's something that you can prepare for and use as one of your main sites as opposed to the off site if you're OCG. And so far, them going to it for 2 rounds is definitely not a mistake.
10 seconds left.
Yeah, no, I think I would agree with that statement there. And now the question is, what does Windstorm bring in this situation that throws OCG off, or that changes the outcome of the last time they were on this site? They brought the Thermite again, and we saw that the Thermite last time, he didn't quite use his utility as you'd expect a Thermite to use his utility, as he placed it down on a soft floor all the way upstairs in admin. And again, you're looking at the operator picks here for Windstorm, and they aren't expecting this site whatsoever.
No, they're not, and I think Twist is probably still raging a little bit about the fact that they went to the site that they didn't expect them to go to.
Yeah.
I think if anything is like, well, they went to it once, surely they
no
don't
chance.
do it again.
There's
There's
no
absolutely
chance.
no chance.
Yeah.
But he might use it in the same way, or they can go for a completely different take. The barricades will enable Kush to move through the maze that Oceanus has set up, but see if he can't apply pressure from a different side of the map. And the way that Windstorm is attacking this site is not the same as before. A lot of it was contained in Visa last time. And Japanadian, finally, he'll nab his first kill in the past couple of rounds, and Ash will be taken down off the deep realm at the very top of Yellow Stairs. So everyone on OCG, I do believe that is almost the entirety of OCG, with the exception of the Maestro sitting on Spiral Stairs, are on the basement bomb. They're not sitting on the one on first floor. They are all the way down in Archives. They might be willing to allow Windstorm to take full control of the first floor before they even have to worry about moving downstairs again. And well, you're putting that sledgehammer to good use, but the Maestro is right there. No, he'll both move away and no one will come out worse the wiser for that trade.
And we see it's a completely horizontal take here from Windstorm. They're completely ignoring upstairs and they're ignoring downstairs. The one time they tried to go downstairs, it was the Ash that got picked off by the Bandit. And with this horizontal control, it's going to prevent quite a lot of rotates from OCG, but the one that it's not going to prevent is Castle going all the way upstairs and probably going to make his way down Spiral. I don't exactly know where he's planning to go, but we see that the Bandit is deciding to play this window fairly aggressively, trying to get a pick under the Zofia. And what the Roamers are doing right now is not playing overly aggressive, but they're wasting time. A lot of it. 2 mids are gone, and 0 Roamers have been killed, 0 damage has been taken from the defense, and there's still a lot of map control for the defense in terms of flank potential. Japanadian and the Mozzie are both upstairs. That's deadly. The problem is, do they have enough time to deny this plant, and do they have enough control to actually stop the planter from getting down and forcing them into a retake situation? Well, the answer to that question has been answered very quickly, and that's going to be a no. They have all this vertical control, but they don't use it to the best of their abilities, and the plant gets down, and it's now going to be a retake situation for OCG. Definitely not where they want to find themselves in.
It's only 30 seconds left. They found themselves in the 5v4 post plant, and there's only so much work that you can do if you're OCG to try to clear this back out and maybe go for a defuse while you keep the remaining attackers occupied still. Kibbs will find one, and Vitrios will
1v3.
I mean, he really wants to try to defend this as much as possible. That is a 1 versus 3. All of a sudden, OCG has turned the situation completely around. Darking with 2 kills will end things, and Oceanus, it's only the first map with the BO3, but a dominating performance with 2 players with over 10 kills, and we will head into the next part of our best of 3. OCG up 1 map.
In a best of 3, you have the ability to analyze your mistakes and fix them and then go into the next map with a completely new mindset. That's something you don't have in best of 1s. It's something you kind of have in best of 2s, but it's mostly highlighted in best of 3s. So with what you've seen from here, Jacob, what do you think Windstorm needs to change right off the rip? What is the biggest problem that Windstorm had that they need to fix?
The biggest problem for me is it just seemed like the intel game was very lacking, at least in direct comparison to the way that OCG was utilizing their intel game. The intel bans by themselves were creating so much havoc on the defensive side because you lose access to a Valkyrie, which is already a very standard ban for Consulate, so you probably should play Consulate expecting there to not be a Valkyrie in play. But losing the Pulse just by itself, that's passive intel. That's something that if you bring an IQ, you might be able to discover, but if you're not bringing somebody that knows where the Pulse is, that's a whole bunch bunch of free intel that the defense can get for themselves. The problem is, I don't know if that's something that we can see on the next map, which is Oregon. The bans might just be the thing that helps shift it in one team's favor or the other, but we will get right into that map. Map 2 is Oregon. We will come back after a very short 10-minute break. Don't go anywhere. find ourselves moving from map 1 into map 2 rather rapidly as we go from Consulate to Oregon between Oceanus Gaming and Windstorm. I'm Caliber Jacob Anderson, joined again by Henry Red Cube Danish, and we are just about to move right into map 2. What did you see from last map, Henry, and what do you think we can see from both of these teams heading into Oregon?
A lot of mistakes from both teams, if I'm being honest. That's what I saw from the map number 1. The only difference being, I think Oceanus was able to capitalize on those mistakes a lot better, and they were able to minimize those mistakes near the tail end of that matchup. Whereas Windstorm, I think, got a little bit stagnant. They were just kind of put back onto the back burner and just got thrown into a really tough position. 5-1 at the half, 6-1 overall. They were on match point for a very long time, and they just weren't able to bring it back. But now, here's their chance to shut things out and make it to map 3, as Windstorm looks to take on Oceanus on the map of Oregon, which, reminder, this was OCG's pick. And, well, last time these two teams played on this map, it was 7-1, Jacob. 7-1. I'm going to say it a third time. 7-1 in favor of OCG.
I guess the biggest factor in it being a 7-1 could very well have come down to time. This was the decider game between both Windforce and OCG last time these two played in a best of 3. And when you head to the third map, sometimes fatigue can start to take more of a stranglehold than it would in the first 2 games. So we might be able to factor some of that in, but obviously in this case, we just have OCG on a massive momentum sweep, and they're looking to keep that going as we progress into map 2. Thatcher, again, another ban that we're seeing a lot more of in North America and maybe even Europe. That's something you'd really only see in Latin America. And a Cali, that is... Wow. Oh, man. If you want to open a reinforced anything...
Good luck.
That became infinitely harder with a Cali taken off. And Japanadian letting his presence be felt about how he feels on that ban.
I also just want to talk about, during the pregame, they were singing TNT in chat, like when they were typing it out. That was just absolutely beautiful. But it's going to be a Mira ban as well. So reminder, there is an Echo perma ban. So Echo cannot be played no matter what. So maybe these are more typical. Maybe we're going to see a Mira Maestro ban, Mira Clash. And Clash meta on Oregon is scary. So that ban does make sense. This isn't ranked. That ban makes sense.
Clash is one of those operators that I don't remember exactly who said it, but Clash is a very, at the outset, weak operator, but still incredibly annoying to play against in almost any context. But that's only because she doesn't move very quickly. It takes a long time for her to be able to switch from her shield back to whatever her primary weapon is, and it does create a lot of havoc for the attacking team to maneuver around her. And sometimes it takes 2, maybe even 3 operators to just remove one Clash from the defending half. I do believe that does make things considerably easier on the side of the attack, in which case this is Windforce, and they will do what they can to stop OCG on laundry and supply. So there are a few things to note about Oregon for those of you who haven't seen a whole bunch of Oregon gameplay before. The 2 primary sites are obviously the ones in the basement and on the second floor. There's a little bit of debate about which one of the first floor sites that incorporates the kitchen is the stronger one. I think I've heard it from a few different ways from lots of different people in multiple regions, and we can probably figure out which one of those is the offsite based on how these guys play it out here. We will start on the basement. That seems pretty customary, and I think OCG are more than prepared because this is their map pick of the best of 3.
So this is an interesting hold here from the castle. He castled off right outside of that A site, and that's granting a lot of control to the attackers if they don't invest a body there. If they decide to just gift that lower stairs area to the attacking team, you could see a very aggressive, fast push into A that I don't necessarily know if OCG is prepared for. They probably scrimmed this map a bunch of times. They probably have this map as one of their favorites considering they picked it and they also beat Windstorm 7-1 on it, but it's still something we have to keep an eye on.
Castle's behavior is a little, I guess, strange because he put both castle barricades and he's boarded himself up in meeting, but Zofia is just going to use the Yana to face check all the way downstairs. We'll open the site right up, and it seems like this is almost a 3-man rush. You've still got the Yana heading straight in to get a little more intel, and he'll be able to come in after this is all said and done. It might be a 5v post plant, but no, the Maverick will still go for it, but Faiko will be the first one to fall as Darkin will clean him up. 5 versus 3 now as a diffuser is not planted in the end. Everything on Windstorm's side is falling completely apart. point, and OCG maintains control. They have Diffuser in their possession, and Windstorm with 2 minutes left. Can they do anything? It's all on Venturous' shoulders. No man from OCG's been taken down until the very end. The rush strategy does not work, and OCG clamp down.
That's exactly what Windstorm needed to do. They just didn't do it properly. I said at the very beginning of that round, that castle, that's an interesting spot to put it. There could be a rush strategy here from Windstorm. That's exactly what happened. And unfortunately, Windstorm wasn't able to get any of their gunfights in their favor. They weren't even able to get the bomb down because of great smoke play from OCG. And it's 1-0, Jacob. The fastest round we have seen in Canadian Challenger League that has been recorded.
I mean, yeah, it technically is the fastest round we have seen at this point.
We don't know. We don't know about the prior ones. There could have been like an instantaneous round that we just don't know about.
I mean, I have to respect the way that Windstorm wanted to take that. I was about to make a point about the way that the castle was positioned, because he put one sitting downstairs, but then put the other two on meeting, boarded himself up, and left the hatch open for a drop. There was nothing that Windstorm wanted absolutely nothing to do with what Oceanus were attempting to do on defense. So they just took their picks. They used Kush on the Yana to just move in and try to get as much intel as possible. And up until the very end, I swear that diffuser was just a millisecond away from finding its plant. But it did not happen in the end.
If they got it down, that could have easily been a win for Windstorm.
It changes the entire complexity of the round if they get that diffuser in.
100%. 100%. Everyone who has watched competitive Siege, everyone who has played ranked or even casual knows how valuable that diffuser is. And unfortunately for Windstorm, they just didn't have it in them to get it down. And that just hurts quite a bit. So now we're going upstairs, and like you said, this is the very typical rotation for Oregon. You go basement first or upstairs first, and then it's quickly followed up by the one you didn't play yet, and OCG are following suit.
I'm curious to see, I mean, you really aren't able to execute a rush strategy onto this site, and if you do, you have to get everybody up to the top floor first and then start to stage your rush, but then at that point, your positions are probably given away by detail. Yeah, at this point, if it's not a rush, you tell within the first 20 seconds of the round whether or not it's a play like that from the attack.
Yeah, and I think with Windstorm trying to play aggressively like that, I like it better, because we know they're a very aggressive team. In every single instance of every question that I asked the Windstorm players, they always had something about how aggressive they are. They like to peek, they like to get early picks, they like to make their presence known, and that's good. They're playing into that. The only problem is OCG also knows that, and they're just waiting for their picks. And the other problem is Windstorm just not winning their gunfights. We saw it was, I think it was FICO last map. He went 0-8. That's what? I swear he didn't miss that. But he went 0-8, and it's just, you have to win your gunfights if you're going to play like that. And unfortunately for Windstorm, they didn't do it last map. They didn't do it on the first round of this map. But if they want to start stacking rounds on top of each other, they don't want to get too far away from their playstyle, and they just have to win their gunfights. Unfortunately, down goes Twist. Say goodbye to your Maverick. And
say goodbye to your Zofia. That's not the way you want to start things out. FICO and Virtuous will find it. It's a 3 versus 3. Turns into a 3 versus 2 as Exod continues his reign of terror down below. Japanese will just let those UMP bullets fly, and FICO again finds another kill. Windstorm beginning to bring things back. The sledge cannot be stopped, just sitting on Armory stairs. We'll take another second to drone things a little bit. If you can provide more intel to your Yana, you might be able to force OCG into a much harder corner. With still a minute left to go, trying to force them back out is definitely what you want. All of a sudden, it's just Kibbs. It's Kibbs all by himself as Japanadian gets absolutely smoked by the Yana, and he has all of this entire west side of the map to work with so far. 45 seconds. And 2 players continuing to sit in trophy. They can't rotate back. Diffuser continues to sit in walk-in. And Kibbs, I think he's aware of this, and all he has to do is spray down the doorway. Diffuser has not been reclaimed. That's a 30-second operation to go back, grab it, and then start moving in. I don't know why Windforce hasn't at least tried to reclaim it. They might be waiting for one of their players to go down and then immediately have him go for the refrag. But we just continue to sit in a stalemate.
Now, this is a very interesting dynamic for this round. See, there's 15 seconds left. The diffuser is not in control of the attacking team, and they're just going for picks at this point. Intel is going to be granted there by the device, and it's going to just provide a little bit of kind of where is this person? But with 3 seconds left, you could easily win this out if you're Oceanus, but no! Windstorm, they hit the buzzer beater, and down goes Kibbs. Kibbs played that extremely well, but it was Windstorm that find themselves on the winning end of that one. Maybe a little bit of luck, maybe a little bit of skill. You really don't know. It's 1-1 on Oregon.
See, I was giving them a little bit less credit in that case because I was saying, go for the diffuser. It's sitting right there. It's just a room over. What are you doing? I neglected to remember that they still had a Yana in play. And when you have a Yana, all you have to do is utilize your ability, move into one position that absolutely means you focus the last defender's attention. Kibbs went for the Yana, wasn't able to find the sledge coming back up, and that's still all the kills in Windforce's pocket. And now they'll move up. After 2 rounds so far, we're all tied up.
So this is the exact same dynamic we saw on Consulate. It was 1-1, and then this is where OCG started to run away with the game. Do you expect that pattern to continue here?
It depends on how OCG are able to react to the way that Windstorm isolated out so many of their defensive members into 1v1 situations that couldn't immediately be traded out. Because at the end, they went 4 trades. It wasn't enough to stop it from becoming a 2v1, and that ultimately was the demise for OCG. Windstorm can attempt to replicate that, but I think OCG, just from how they played Consulate, have already wisened up to that exact attack strategy. They're still putting their reinforcements and they're setting up the site in almost an identical manner. They're keeping a lot of the same operators. I think it's actually the same operator lineup as it was from the previous round. So they're pretty confident in the way that they played it. They just understand at this point it's a matter of winning your gunfights.
Yeah, and, well, we've seen a lot of gunfights in this series. It seems as if every team, both of these teams, are just going for picks. They're not even playing into their strategies. Yes, they have certain holds, and yes, they have certain pushes, but when it gets down to the nitty-gritty of things, it's just win your ones. A mindset that it sometimes works, sometimes doesn't, and that's why I think we see the inconsistencies of Windstorm start to shine through in the later half of rounds, because they rely on the win your ones mindset a bit too much. OCG, they also rely on that mindset, but I don't think it's just as heavily as Windstorm is doing so, as we have seen from the map previously, and also the 2 rounds we've seen on Oregon.
The Yana will immediately rush back up. I don't even know if Coach is face checking. That just might be him already upstairs in Trophy without anybody there to stop him. But a lot of Windstorm's attack has already begun to focus on the master bedroom side. They're still moving with speed and efficiency. That's the name of their game so far, and it did net them a pretty sizable advantage in the last round. If they're able to keep it going, OCG might not be in a position to move defenders back and to recover. We'll begin to utilize all of this utility, burn the Womai discs. There is a Jaeger in play, so you have the ADSs to take out, and you don't have a Thatcher, so your job becomes infinitely harder, and all you have to do is bring your flashes and any throwables to try to clear people out of certain positions. 1 frag nade, 2 frag nades will come through the hole, and Joe will still find Exod, so one of your roamers has been taken out of commission, and it means everyone on OCG needs to start coming much faster back to site. FICO will grab another kill, his 3rd of the game so far. He had a big crucial double that swung all of the momentum back in Windstorm's favor. Last round, it turns into a 5 versus 3. FICO will go in, will get down. Another refrag immediately from Twist. Everything here seems to be falling apart for OCG. A Nitro Cell from below will not net anything, and that's all the utility for OCG out the window now. What do you do if you're them?
They have a minute to work with, and they just have to win their gunfights once again, and they're gonna be able to do it. It's gonna 2v2, make it a 2v1. Darkin goes absolutely massive for his team. Joe, in a 2v1 situation, he has 50 seconds to work with and a little bit of utility in his back pocket. This is definitely winnable for Windstorm, but they were in a much more winnable position about 20 seconds ago. Just gonna have to wait and see what is the plan here. Well, that definitely wasn't on the agenda for Joe. He goes down, and OCG in a 2 versus 4 when all hope seemed to be lost. They grabbed it out of their back pocket, and they win the round.
I think something that we're already seeing a difference in on map 2 versus map 1 is that Windforce is definitely not afraid to start throwing bodies to the wind. The intel game isn't nearly as strong from OCG, which means
I saw what you did there.
See? Look at me. I deserve to be here. I can make puns just as bad as any dad. I'm working on that. OCG doesn't have the intel game nearly well in hand, and what that ultimately ends up doing is giving Windstorm the confidence to push into any room on the map. In this case, it's most of the top floor, it's armory stairs, it's the master bedroom side, it's walk-in closet. Just for those 2 rounds, gave them a lot of space to operate in, even if OCG wasn't attempting to give them that much space. You know, if you're the defense, you obviously know you're not able to lock down every single room on a map. So there are some things that you can kind of let the attackers take and try to see if you can't lure them into some sort of trap. And so far, OCG's been doing a really good job of trying to isolate individual members out, or at the very least, do what they do by circling and suffocating. I'll keep on bringing this back up because it's still a trend that you can see map in and map out. Right now, Windstorm are not afraid to go in and play for those picks, but at some point that can catch up with them if they're not able to do what OCG has done and isolate people before they're able to get any meaningful picks or additional intel or utility wasted, any of that.
Something we have to say, Jacob, is Windstorm looks a lot better this map. For sure. I felt on Consulate that first round, that second round, that third round, we started to see them slip almost instantly. Windstorm, that last round, they had a 4v2 advantage, and they looked good. They looked like they were in a position to just shut that round out and get their very first lead of this series. Unfortunately, we saw it was Darkin that goes massive for his team, and sometimes you just can't practice for that. You just can't simulate that, and Windstorm weren't prepared for that. Just like that, that's why they lost it out. We can see here, though, once again, speed and efficiency is the name of the game for Windstorm, and they've already invested their bodies very far or very near the site in which they look to attack.
Only 40 seconds left, and they're already beginning to move into the basement blue bunker side of things. I don't know if this is something that they want to take nearly as quickly because they're beginning to waste more of the utility. Phoenix will just knock off the Ash just as fast as anyone has ever died. Yeah, with no impact created either. I don't even know if a single Ash charge was used on her side of things. Everyone on OCG, though, this is a similar site to what, or almost the exact same hole we saw before. Castle was barricaded off almost all of Meeting Hall, which is preventing anyone from getting inside unless they want to use utility, which means there's 2 players upstairs in the event that they need a quick rotate. Darkin will sacrifice himself to the frag nade, but Maestro will clean up just as quickly as that nade comes through, and Twist will have 1 frag to his name, and then will be sent back to the spectator cams.
Yeah, he got put on cams fairly quickly, and it seems like Windstorm. I thought that looked like it was like a TK.
The Yana was the distraction he didn't need. Oh man,
that's unfortunate. Thankfully, it wasn't the real Yana, because that would have been even worse. But still, that hurts quite a bit. A pick is going to come out, and that's onto the smoke. A lot of utility off the board now. As Phoenix, he was able to get a kill onto the Ash, but unfortunately, he had 2 canisters still in his back pocket, and those are going to be sent to the grave. It's a 3v3 situation. You have about a minute left to work with if you are Windstorm, and you have a minute left to deal with if you are Oceanus. And right now, in terms of positioning, I think I'm going to put my money on OCG to win this one out. If Sledge can get this kill, however, that's going to completely change the name of the game.
Maestro needs to know where the Sledge operates and vice versa. This pick might be the thing that secures the round one way or the other. It's Japanadian versus FICO. One of these two. They know there's someone still situated. The Sledge can't be naive and believe that there's no one else, that's still in the same room with them. No one's moving.
This is funny.
No one's going anywhere. This is like the standoff, but neither one of them know the other player's position.
Japanadian's doing his job here, though. He's wasting a lot of time. 20 seconds are left on the board, and Sledge either has to drop or peek onto the 81 bullets.
Oh no, he already dropped down! Japanadian might have the perfect pick here! And he still manages to get 1, but it's not on the Sledge. He gets away. He's looking to make some sort of impact, and finally Jap will be the one to win it out, and Gibbs will grab Kush on the Yana. That entire 1v1 still won by Japanadian in the end, and OCG will go up 3-1.
The dynamic between the Sledge and the Maestro was the most important, the most pivotal part in that round, and you see why. Not only did the Maestro waste a lot of time, but the Sledge was like, all right, I only have 20 seconds left to work with. I have to drop down in the site. He drops down in the site, well, not necessarily site, but he drops down the hatch. He gets picked off by the Maestro. His buddy right next to him gets picked off by the Maestro, and just like that, OCG are quickly in the driver's seat because there's only 5 seconds to work with, and it's a 3v1 situation. Talk about confidence. Please don't tell me Okay. I was going to say.
Oh, man. Okay. I was about to start celebrating. We were actually going to see it to Chonka.
No, I was excited for sure.
Oh man, that must have been that scenario. I don't remember if Darkin wasn't able to pick an operator, so he was just forced to use that 6 pick to go for something different. But at the end of the day, this might help answer the question I asked a little bit earlier. Which of the 2 first floor kitchen sites is the one that would be played as the offsite? And it looks as though it's meeting because we went to dining instead. So I think this will definitely prove, at least on Oceanus' defense, how confident they are in sticking on a first floor site. They've already won the one on basement and the one on top floor, so they're forced to go on something that involves kitchen. They'll reinforce up all of meeting, as that seems as what Exod has done, and he will jam that off, and more reinforcements will be placed in bathroom. I don't know if there will be nearly as much of a security hold, because you do... Nope, I'm seeing that get shotgunned as well, so they'll have a rotate and they can extend into security. They have bathroom taken down because they look to be expecting a push from small tower. Both of those walls have already been electrocuted, and yes indeed, almost all of Windstorm will spawn in Junkyard and start coming at this map, or at this site from the west part of the map.
This is a very important round for OCG, because if they win it out, they are allowed to go back upstairs. And it would be 4-1, potentially another 5-1 half in favor of OCG. This is also an important round for Windstorm, because you don't want OCG to start running away with this game like they did on Consulate. There's a lot that Windstorm needs to fix, but there's also a lot of mistakes that OCG is making that I just don't think Windstorm is capitalizing on whatsoever. If they just wake up a little bit and kind of smell the coffee, this round, this game, and this matchup could be a lot closer. As wow, that guy went light speed.
I think we just saw rare footage of the flash there for a second.
Yeah, what? Why was that so fast?
He's just castle up, bye!
Yeah,
and
like he just turned on the jets.
I don't think Zoph could have gotten that kill if she tried harder.
No,
that's just not happening.
You're not getting that pick for sure.
I think Windstorms begin to split up a little bit, as not the entirety of the attack is coming from the west side, and I think small tower control has been obtained because FICO on the sledge is already sitting back up there. Joe will... Oh my... Exod, what are you doing? How did you let that happen, Exod? He must have been down by something. I don't know if it was by both grenades. That's the thing. Both of them come in, knock out that entire deployable shield, and all of a sudden it turns into a 3 versus 5 as Virtuous will come up and immediately traded out by the Womai of Japanadium. He'll sit in shower corridor just waiting for someone to come down from small tower, and the Zofia still sits on the window. This is all of a sudden a massive choke point. Double ADSs will prevent the shield from going down. That's a lot of utility wasted, and Japanadian still sits in the same spot. Windforce has a minute and change left to go. The Zoph doesn't have nearly as much utility as you did before, but now the wall's been opened up. Dining can be taken by Windstorm, provided they give Oceanus enough reasons to not push them.
Yeah, it seems like the nightmares of Japanadian inside the minds of Windstorm is starting to begin afresh. They haven't been able to clear him out previously. He has 7 kills to his name, and he's in a power position right now. If he gets 1 pick from this, he's done his job tremendously. He's wasted a lot of time, he's wasted a lot of utility, and also he's forcing the attack to just completely ignore him. We can see that Japanadian has smartly rotated off with the calls from his teammates that Twist has made it into sight. This is still a really winnable round here for OCG because there's not a lot of control, and Japanadian can do things like that. He's looking to get another one as he creeps his way into showers. If the Zofia is not looking the right way, no, Japanadian, you gotta hit the T-hunt after that one. That's unfortunate. Would have been a huge kill there, but now it's back down to a 2v3 situation.
Turns into a 2 versus 2. Diffuser needed to be reclaimed after the Maverick itself was killed, and now Joe has to plant and FICO has to cover. 2 defenders left. Both of them are 1 speed, so mobility is not on their side. FICO will find 1 because he's making all the noise he needs in kitchen, and the Nitro Cell cannot claim the life or any of the HP on either FICO or Joe. And Kibbs, another 1vx. We found himself in 1 or 2 of these over the course of map 1. Now a similar position because everyone from Windforce can just rotate back out as far away from site as they need to. He's not one as 1vx's tonight has Kibbs, and Windstorm will find 1 as now the options for both of the standard sites will open up for OXG next round.
So it looks like OCG, they really want to... Did you say OXG?
I've definitely been watching too much of the United States division. I definitely just said
that
OXG.
Threw me off. I was like, for a second, I was so ready to be like Laxine, Foxa. And I was
you
like,
were about to say slash hug somewhere in the middle of that.
No, I was totally so close to saying that. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, that's not the right game. No, but
that's okay. One day, maybe one day.
One day, soon. Soon.
Stay tuned.
No, but OCG, they're going to be opting to go back upstairs to that 2nd floor bomb site, and a 4-2 split on Oregon fairly default. It's a defender-sided map considering it's so new. Every new map that's been introduced into Siege has been very defender-sided. So if I'm Windstorm, a 5-1 half, that sucks, but it's not too bad. A 4-2 half, I'm very pleased with that. A 3-3 half, now we're talking.
Just from how Consulate went, 3-2 is already a much better position to sit in if you're Windstorm, solely because the last map ended in a 5-1 half, and that is not the way that you want things to go, especially when that was a whole 5 rounds in a row, or sorry, at least 4 rounds in a row from OCG. The way that things are splitting now for Oceanus is they need to, I guess, lock in one more round on defense, because this has very traditionally ended in a 4-2 or a 5-1 map. At 3-3, if Windstorm is able to claim this final round and lock in a completely even first half, that's almost a win because of how heavily defender-sided this map has been portrayed by several of the people who play this game competitively.
For sure. For sure. I 100% agree with you there. If Windstorm can escape this 3-3 in a draw, they're in the driver's seat, in my opinion. OCG is going to be on the back foot. And we haven't said that yet in this entire series. Not once have we said OCG is on the back foot because they've just been so dominant. There's still a lot of Siege to be played, however, so we can't get too far ahead of ourselves. Windstorm, the entire push, it seems to be changing a little bit. Obviously, Maverick last time here got C4'd right off the rip from below, but he's actually going to be able to use his utility this time, and that's going to provide not only maybe potential for nade kill, but potentially just also opening up that wall and getting the control that the attacking team needs onto site.
A minute to go, and FICO, who has taken a lot of the shots and a lot of the kills over the course of this map. He had a very abysmal map 1, but he's begun to bring things back into his favor with 5 kills and only 3 deaths. He will be the one to push up, and he'll have a lot of HP taken off of him, as everyone from OCG is sitting pretty with not a single point taken down. And now Twist will be the one to fall from a Nitro Cell from below. Again, it's not even that we had to worry about a pulse in this case. That's just a Nitro Cell at the right angle with enough sound cues. And your Maverick, who can't even fully open up that wall, now means Windstorm's entire attack strategy will need to rotate at least a little bit to compensate for not having the Maverick's torch to play anymore.
I think the C4 was thrown through the hole of the Maverick. I don't think it was from below.
That would make a lot more sense.
That's very unfortunate. That's gotta hurt if I am the Maverick there, because you've done your job, and it's the shrapnel update there that just kills you. And, well, it makes sense. A C4 right next to you, and you have a little piece of metal separating you and a giant explosion, you're probably going to die. And Maverick in that situation, he did.
What do you mean? We don't play Rainbow Six Siege for any sense of realism. What are you talking about?
Very true. They have giant metal beams in their back pockets.
Well, yeah, and they also have somebody who can throw an entire clone replica of herself at the defending team just looking for additional
It's
intel.
in my garage. I'm working on it. Don't worry.
Oh, you got that? Okay, cool. Yeah. That's a Nitro Cell that I think that also comes through the same hole, but Kibbs will take down Virtuous, and it turns pretty effectively into a 1 versus 3. Nope, now at this point, 5 versus 2. Kush will get picked up, and there's still one more sitting and walking. Phoenix just has 2 shotgun blasts at 2 different faces, and OCG will net what is a very pivotal round for them. They'll end Oregon on a 4-2 split.
Yeah, it was a very important round for both of those teams, and just like that, it was a flawless round for OCG. Are they going to be able to carry that momentum into the attacker side of Oregon? We're just going to have to wait and see, but Jacob, what do you think?
4-2 is really, really what you needed for OCG. It's almost like they were trying to feel Windforce out a little bit more so than they were in previous rounds. They are being much more aggressive. They're not nearly as afraid to take control of as many rooms as they need. I keep saying Windstorm. I keep getting the two of them mixed up because both of them sound perfect for a team name, but right. I'll do my best to make sure that
does sound good. No, I'm
Windforce sounds great
after that one.
After doing incorrect competition, we can have Windstorm versus Windforce at some point.
Yeah, oh my goodness.
Windstorm are being aggressive. They're taking site control where they need to, and OCG are allowing them enough space to operate, but it's not proven super detrimental. Is that a Nitro Cell already expended?
Yes, the Goyo has lost a Nitro Cell. Where exactly?
He's opening up the wall that leads back into Cubby. I understand. So he wasn't waiting for somebody else to open up a rotate for him because there isn't a single member of the defense that has a shotgun available for those rotates. Or impacts. There's nothing. So that's your only... Nope, there's one Nitro Cell still remaining, and it's in the hands of the Valkyrie. Huh.
This is an interesting operator setup for this site. You really want a shotgun and you really want a couple impacts. Losing a C4 right off the rip isn't ideal. Yes, it made the rotate, and you could say that you're. Oh, did you see what I did there? Off the rip.
Off the rip.
C4. I didn't even notice I did that, but production told me I did it. So
you have no idea how scared I've become of Velcro the entire time I've been playing this game. Every time I hear a Velcro rip, I have PTSD. Just some around like that. No, exactly. Just like I'm in the middle of work and I just hear someone just rip one of those, and I'm like, okay, I'm dead. Where?
You just start freaking out. Like, everybody get down. Like, what is going on with Jacob today?
Yeah, nah. I mean, I will argue that there's probably not enough utility on Windstorm side of things, but they're bringing one deployable, plenty of barbed wire, and that's your other nitrosol, by the way, that's already gone, as Vitreous has used it on what I don't know, unless that was another rotate. So
please don't be another rotate. I would be very disappointed in OCG. I'm hoping it's not. I'm really hoping we don't see.
I don't know what to think about this. I genuinely don't.
Because I mean, they got the setup done, which is sick. But also, you want to have impacts. You want to have impact grenades. You want to have shotgun shells or anything to open up the wall, because C4s are very valuable. I'm
just really envisioning a moment where, did you set up the site? Yes. What did it cost? Everything.
Everything. All of it. Yes. No, that's a perfect way to represent it. But we can
hardcore push down freezer as everyone from OCG is beginning to situate the attack on that side, and they will also begin to come down the other staircase if possible. FICO, I don't even know how he hits that. Exxon gets taken out of commission. Only able to utilize those flash grenades to try to burn some of the utility that was sitting alongside the wall, because so far, Wamai and Jaeger have both been mainstays of the defense on both of these halves so far. Phoenix will be the next one to fall, and yet another one for FICO, and still find 3. He needs all the kills to his name. He's got a YouTube video to make later, and that's 3 kills for him. Japanadian and Darkin at this stage don't have diffuser in hand, have only about a minute left. Actually, Darkin will be able to recover that, but now his position's given away, and FICO will immediately look back towards the laundry stair side of things. Japanadian also not in an advantageous position, but he will down the Valkyrie and try to see if he can't get stimmed back up by Doc. He'll just sit prone, and he will get back up indeed, and Japanadian will still try to go for some sort of frag, but again, the Wamai to contend with, and those rechargeable discs will end up being his downfall, and now he's the only one on his team left, and he'll just...
Hello.
I guess he's done. He's just said, nope, that round's not winnable. I don't want to... Wait. Oh, no!
Oh, no! I thought he killed himself. I thought he purposely killed. Oh no!
I thought he did too, or I thought he got caught in another Wamai disc and he just didn't see it, but it just rolls around the locker.
He came around the corner. He's like, "Where'd my frag grenade?" Oh.
Oh dear lord!
And there he goes. 4-3 now. Windstorm. They look really good.
They're looking like they're picking themselves back up, if nothing else. I didn't think FICO was going to pop off with 3 kills on an ACOG just sitting in freezer doorway, but to his credit, those 3 kills were absolutely monumental to stopping any push that OCG wanted to go for in freezer. It's like, as soon as you get the first kill, well, you can still have one person push through the rest of freezer by themselves and then hope that the rest of the push coming from laundry stairs is effective. Oh, we just lost another person in freezer. Oh, we just lost another person in freezer. Wait, what do we do now? And everything just completely stalls out because it's a 5v2 scenario. You don't know how many angles you can watch, and it just turns into you waiting for somebody on I keep saying Windforce. You notice how I did that again?
Every time you say it now, I'll correct you. We'll 100%.
Can we have a counter, please, for every time I misspell this poor org's name?
No, but if you look at the OCG from Consulate compared to the OCG here, they look a lot more human. They were a deranged killer on Consulate, and they were lights out consistently. Here, they look a little bit more on even pegging with Windstorm, and it's more back and forth, which you love to see. This is OCG's map pick, remember? And last time these two teams played on this map, it was 7-1 in OCG. So that's progress for Windstorm, and you always have to start somewhere in the game of Siege, and progress like this, where you get 2 more rounds, and you still have a lot of rounds to be played, that's great. Windstorm are definitely figuring things out.
It really does kind of play into the idea of round economy in a sense. It's not something we really talk about in the sense of Siege. We can talk about drone economy. We talk about the way you use your gadgets and where you want to throw one operator or the other. But we don't talk about the way that rounds play out, and the way that the map bans themselves were executed by Oceanus did put Oregon in their sights, and they opted to go for something like this where they knew it was going to be a long, hard slog on attack. All they had to do was capitalize on their defense rounds, and they're fully aware they need 2 rounds on attack to push this to OT. Windstorm have to get into position to catch up. They've already taken one of their preferred sites off the board in basement, and now you're heading back upstairs. OCG would not have gone to Oregon if they didn't have some sort of plan in their back pocket for winning at least 2 rounds on attack.
Oh, for sure. And they also probably have a plan to win the viable sites on attack. Upstairs and downstairs are very viable for the defense, and if they just win one of those, it could be wraps for Windstorm.
See, we might have a 1v1 happening right here in meeting. If Exod and Vitreous meet right at the last second, it'll be won by Exod as the drone provides enough of a distraction. And one more will still head right into meeting, just continuing to clear it back out. And now it turns into a 1v1 with the Vigil, and Exod can't clean that one up as Kush will move back immediately after losing all that HP. He might already have gone back downstairs, as now Exod will take full control of the entirety of meeting. And that is a very big kill, but so is that one as Japanese gets taken down on the rappel, and he's already at 9 kills. That's not an operator you want to lose if he's got an itchy trigger finger. And now the Ash of Exod, he's got meeting cleared out. He can use both of those charges to open up holes from below, go for more picks, and that's exactly what he does. FICO, no more 3Ks for you on the dock, my good sir. You'll sit down until the next round. Kibbs will find one on Joe. We sit at a 4v2 advantage for OCG, now a 4v1. We just talked about being able to win the viable sites, and Phoenix will find 2 of his own. OCG, absolute perfection on a top floor attack. They move to 5 points.
OCG's just turned it on like a light switch at night. Out of nowhere. I think they're in our comms, Jacob, because I said immediately, I was like, no, this is a very important round. OCG has to win it. And then out of nowhere, Exod gets a huge entry onto the Valkyrie, almost takes down the Vigil. There was a refrag there, and you're like, okay, 4-4, this is okay. And then it was lights out. Boom, 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 boom. 4 versus 1. It's all over. And now say hello to a 5-3 if you are Windstorm.
Yeah, you're heading back to the same site as before. This is something we talked a little bit about last time we saw Windstorm on defense on Consulate, was they aren't necessarily going to go back to a site if they don't win it one time, and they also probably have an opportunity to go to a different site should they feel like something didn't work. I don't know what you do, what strategy you correct if you get steamrolled as hard as you did defending the site in the last round. I don't totally know what the change up that is required here is supposed to be from Windstorm. And also a reminder about what both of these teams are fighting for. They're looking to make it to that 3rd and 4th place tiebreaker game against the winner of the other decider game that is happening right now, tonight, at the same time that this game is going on. It's a game between Axios and PDHM Gaming. The winner of that will face the winner of this in a 3 to 4 round tiebreaker. But something that is very important to note is that if they can't, if Windstorm, almost did Windforce again, caught myself doing a better job.
You got it there.
If Windstorm are not able to do what Oregon is known for and win rounds on defense, it's going to become very difficult to force a map 3, and they want Villa if they want any hope of progressing out of 7th and 8th place.
No, for sure. And I mean, the thing that kind of hurts right now if I'm Windstorm is they're playing good. It's just OCG is playing better. And that's just how Siege goes sometimes. You can have a great game, you can be doing exactly what you want, but it's going to be the little mistakes or the major kind of explosive plays that put you into the grave. And OCG, you don't want to go down against a team like this because they are very explosive. We've seen it time and time again. That last round is a perfect example of it. Exod, out of nowhere, gets a great entry, gets another pick through the floor onto the player in sight, and just like that, that's basically site control granted to all the attacking players that are around the site, and then they just suffocate the rest of the team. Talk about suffocating, because Kush goes down early. Another player dead, that's your Legion off the board, arguably one of the most valuable operators in the late round of things. And unfortunately, he won't be able to place down any more Legion mines, he won't be able to support his team in terms of gun, and just like that, that really hurts Windstorm. They get a pick back, though, and it's onto the sledge, so say goodbye to grenades. And they also get another one as Joe's able to find 2. And this is looking a little bit more doable. They lost the Legion early, but here we go. OCG are fighting from the back foot.
Windstorm are being a little bit more, how shall I say this? Being a little bit more liberal with where they throw some of their bodies, and it's really proving dividends or paying dividends for them so far. No points are available, so the Ashe has no idea if the Valkyrie's actually been downed, and so far up until that point, that's free intel, and finally Exile will be the one to finish off his own kill. It's a 3 versus 3, but in the HP trade game, OCG are a little bit worse for wear, as Phoenix is the only one with full HP, and he's the one doing all the work on kitchen side of things, attempting to look for additional picks up through the floor. Japanadian has been on a hot streak. He's got 9 kills to his name, as does Phoenix, and the two of them will need to continue this heater that they've been on. He's not looking the right way, and he's lucky he doesn't get picked off right there. Chalk that one up, and he's the first one in the lobby to hit double digits is Jap. Phoenix will find one of himself. Actually, both of them just hit 10 kills in the same round, and everything just falls apart for Windstorm. Just like that, Red Cube, already match point, series point for Oceanus Gaming.
If you ask any competitive player what the hardest thing to look at is, it's going to be match point. Staring down the barrel of match point is so disheartening. You're scared, you're confused, you don't want to lose a round, you don't want to make a mistake, and most of the time, when you're scared, confused, and you don't want to make mistakes, you make a lot of mistakes. There's a lot of pressure on you, and pressure, yes, it shapes legends, but it also forces you into situations you don't want to be in. Right now for Windstorm, the pressure is extremely on. The heat has turned up to incredible amounts, and I just don't know if Windstorm has it in them to answer back. We saw in Consulate they were able to get a couple rounds here and there and make the 7-1 loss a little bit more, I guess, pretty when you look at it, a 7-4 or 7-3, but now it feels like they're starting to lose their spunk a bit. They had a great defensive half. I mean, my apologies. They had a great offensive half, but their defensive half is just nowhere near where it needs to be.
And take a look at the graphic on screen right now showing you the round history, and the thing to take note of is that all of Windstorm's round wins so far are extremely spaced out apart from one another. OCG have been taking rounds in bulk almost every time. They've been winning, multiple rounds in a row without a big answer from Windstorm, and every time they do win a round, OCG then immediately comes back with 2 more, and Windstorm is always on the back foot no matter what they do. Their only saving grace right now appears to be heading downstairs to basement, which is the only defensive site that they have won so far, and they may well be playing more into FICO to pull off 3Ks like that last time that they were on basement, because that was the thing that stalled out OCG completely, and if they need something to stop a battering ram, they better hope that the formula can work multiple times in the same way.
Yeah, for OCG, when it rains, it pours. It seems like they can stack rounds on top of each other, they can stack kills on top of each other, and it's put Windstorm into very tough positions to play in. Here we already see, once again, Exod on the entry on that Ashe roll. He has been lights out for his team, and he's once again trying to replicate that effectiveness. If he can get a pick here, I think he'll be, 3-0. Not 3-0 in terms of like kills, but 3-0 in terms of entry on defense. He's always gotten the first kill, except on that very first round when FICO went absolutely massive.
Sometimes he has a drone in front of him, and sometimes he doesn't, but now he's allowing someone else to drone out for him, and he might be able to get a pick. Were it not for all of this action happening on bunker and just outside of it, the Mira will peek in. No, sorry, that's not Mira, that's a Legion, but the impact will still not net anything, and all of a sudden, the kill feed explodes with a whole bunch of orange on the right-hand side as Windstorm isolates and does a very good job shutting down the attack from 2 different angles of OCG. That is exactly what you need if you want to pull things back in your favor.
So it looks like there was a down player, yeah. So it's going to be the Jaeger, and oh my goodness, what a shot. It's now going to be a 2v2. No! The pickup from the dock! That's what results in Darkin getting killed. That's so unfortunate. For a very split second there, it was a 2v2. The pickup from the revive from the dock was able to just jolt the Jaeger back into action and shut OCG down. Windstorm, they look really good on that downstairs site.
But that's the only thing they look good on so far.
That's the only thing they look good on, yeah.
I know. We're heading right back up to second floor, which again, through 2 rounds on an OCG attack has been their site almost without fail. It turned into a 4v1 scenario in the last time that they won it, and we just have to go back and rewind our minds 2 rounds ago to where it was yet another very, very dominating victory as they were able to situate most of their attackers right below the bomb site, use that Buck of Phoenix to full advantage, open up the floor, and prevent Windstorm from finding an angle or a corner to just sit back in and wait for everyone to come to them. They're not afraid to utilize a bottom up approach. You can't really use a top down approach on a map, on a site like this, solely because you don't have a hatch to worry about. And if you're going for a kill on, above, it comes from outside on such a small angle onto a window that it doesn't really matter for anything. That's the case on the west side where you have the big window covering the A objective if you want someone to sit on the balcony. And there's also the case if you're sitting in big tower looking for a kill, maybe through the kids' dorms window. That's about it. There's nothing else that you can really sit on. And Windstorm are not finding an accurate counter to Oceanus opting to destroy the floor and look up for frags as opposed to looking down.
Yeah, right now, I think the side of Windstorm needs to take a calculated risk on this site, because if the calculations are wrong, there isn't much more they can lose, because, well, if they lose this round, the game is entirely over. Maybe a peek here, maybe a spawn peek there, maybe an aggressive run out there. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the formula needs to be for Windstorm, but something has to change on this site, because OCG, they were dominant on it before.
The Buck will opt to head into maybe helping clear out the attic side of things. There's nobody sitting at the very top of Big Tower for Windstorm. Everyone is either on the site or is roaming a little bit closer to it, but they're not going nearly as far as either of the towers. A small tower pressure is also not a thing. And honestly, ever since the Oregon rework, you really don't have someone sitting in small tower waiting for the run out. That's almost like, nah, that's too easy.
Yeah.
That's not something that you're ever really going to see on New Oregon. But it does mean that you can perfectly predict where people from Windstorm will sit on their defensive take. They don't want to go for anything super reckless. Most of them will sit on site or roam close to either of the staircases, and that's about all.
And we can see the Maverick is going to be working on this wall into attic, trying to put some pressure on the defense. If they can get this soft wall open fairly early on and then push through and pick off this Jaeger, you're going to be looking at this round as pretty much almost completely in favor of the attack. It's very important right now for Joe, the Jaeger, to waste as much time as possible. He doesn't want to gift his life away, but he just wants to force utility to come his way.
Perfect honesty, I don't know if Windforce are able to force this kind of comeback,
Windstorm.
but if they do... Sorry, oh, thank you so much. God, I knew that was going to happen again at some point. I don't know if Windstorm are able to muscle back this comeback. If they do, they need this win on this site to be dominant, because they've never had to go for an offsite yet. They've never gone to first floor. They've just stuck on this top floor bomb site. So far, a lot of utility being expended. All of these flashes and frag grenades will be put trying to get the ADSs out of attic, and the Jaeger will still go back and look for some peeks. Darken on the outside repel, Perfect. Seeing if he can't continue to pressure on attic, because that's where most of this attack is situated and will continue to remain for OCG.
Was a perfect play and perfect waste of utility forced out by the Jaeger there. All the stuns, 2 frag grenades, and Jaeger keeps his life. He doesn't even catch a bullet to his name, and now you only have 45 seconds to work with if you're the attacking team. And yes, that's a lot of time in this current meta, but it's not as much time as OCG is used to. They are able to get a first pick, and that's going to be on Demetrius.
What in the world?
Duck down, and just like that, we're going to be seeing another kill potentially come out, and that's, oh my goodness, it's going to be 2 down, make it a 5v2. This isn't looking good whatsoever here for Windstorm.
Nah, Windstorm had everything in their back pocket, and it just does not look good for them. But that's not even for this series. This series is over. They have already lost 2 best-of-3s to OCG. Congratulations to Oceanus on yet another best-of-3 win over this squad. And they win it in 2 maps as opposed to the last time these 2 teams met when they did it in 3.
So progress is progress for both of these teams. Although it wasn't a 2-1 in terms of map count, Windstorm, I think, looked better. They were starting to grab things back. They looked a little bit more dominant in certain areas. And also, Oregon, at one point, was a 7-1. This time it was a 7-4. That's 3 extra rounds, Jacob, and that can't be overlooked. Overall, though, I think today the better team did win.
Better team did, and it didn't turn into one of those situations where we even needed a map 3 in the end. So if you're looking at this timestamp thinking, well, this was only about 2 hours long, what in the heck happened? That's a dominant 2-0 win for Oceanus Esports. Congratulations to them on a very, very dominant win in the end. I do think you're right. I definitely think that the best team did win. So that's really all for us. We don't have any post-game interview or anything. We will simply allow you to enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you very much for sticking with us for this broadcast of the Canadian Challenger League. We will be back hopefully next week with more of the action as the rest of the season continues to move forward.
Before we sign off, I just want to say, Jacob, it feels really good to be back.
Oh baby, it feels really good to be back. Thank you for enduring me, and I've had to endure you for more casts that I can care to mention. So still thank you for that.
Thanks, guys. We appreciate it. That's it from us tonight. Thank you so much. We'll see you around.